What's up, homegirls? Welcome to Benevolence, where kindness matters and all are welcome to the table. We are your hosts, Ceci
and Nisha. Benevolence is a ministry where we uplift and encourage through topics of conversation that are important in our Christian walk.
We are going to get real. We will focus on topics that we're curious about and what many are afraid to talk about.
We saved the seat just for you. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it.
You are listening to episode 9, Lessons from Encanto. Okay, what is up, everybody?
What's up, girls?
I'm back.
You're back.
You are so back. I think for like the second or third time. I think it's like third or fourth, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's the third one. I think, no, mentira. I think it's been more.
Yeah,
I think it's more. I think it's more.
Mm-hmm.
But we just want to welcome you, Pamela, to Benevolence Podcast again.
Yay!
Yay!
It's an honor for me.
So today, if you're tuning into Benevolence Podcast today, we are going to talk about lessons from Encanto, the movie.
Yes.
The movie. And we brought our best friend, BFF, sister, Pamela Bultron-Carrion. Let me correct that. We brought her on because it's been a long time since we've had her on the podcast, and we just kind of wanted to discuss something that we've talked about this movie before, and we're like, what a great podcast this would be.
Yes. We've been wanting to do this one for a while.
Yeah. So thank you, Pamela, once again for joining us on another episode. So Encanto, let's get to it. So basically in November or December of 2021, Disney released a brand new movie called Encanto. And basically it's a Colombian themed family. It's the Madrigal family who basically just have various gifts. And it's the overall strength of the family. And in addition to the culturally enriched movie, there are also many examples of family and social dynamics that are depicted in the movie. I'm not going to say too much about the movie because if you haven't seen it, I will highly recommend that you do see it. If you're listening, I would just say watch it because you will learn a lot about yourself. You will learn a lot about your family.
Yeah.
You'll learn a lot about a lot of things. But kind of like to introduce our conversation here. At first, I saw it the first time. Yeah. And I didn't see like the messages that were being displayed. I did not see it at all.
I saw it from the beginning.
It's crazy.
I saw it from the beginning too.
We had this conversation and I told you, I was like, I saw it, but I saw it like with Victoria and I was just like, I just saw it to see it. And then, like, you know how everything goes viral on social media?
Exactly.
So everybody was like, oh my God, Abuela, oh my God, Maribel, or
Bruno,
Isabella, Bruno, Luisa. And I'm like, wait. I was like, oh my gosh.
It's deep. It's a deep movie.
Very deep.
It really is. So we wanted to talk about it. We wanted to talk about each character. Huge spoiler. If you have not seen the movie, just press pause. Go see it
and go watch the movie.
Go watch the movie.
I think everyone saw the movie. I mean,
I think so too.
I think everyone has saw that movie.
But if you haven't, there's always one, right? If you haven't, press pause, go see it, and then come back. And then you'll be like, I know what they're talking about.
Yes.
So I guess the first question is, what was your first initial reaction to the movie after watching it for the first time? So
my first reaction? Well, I guess for me, it was like the trauma that the abuela went through was like the first thing, because that was like literally kind of the first thing that happened in the movie. So I would say that was like the first reaction. Wow, like this woman had a lot of trauma, and because of it, so many things happened after that. So that's definitely the first thing I saw and reacted to.
Now, did you have a positive experience to it or negative? Like, did you not like it? Because some people didn't like it. Like I know someone who didn't like it. So
who was it? That's kidding.
no, but go because
no, I would say I had a positive reaction once I saw like the whole story unfold, how it ended, etc. Kind of brought them all together, and that's like the good thing about the movie, that although they went through all this stuff and they learned a lot through it, it brought them all together at the end. So I would say I had a positive reaction.
Okay, nice. What about you, Pam?
I did. When I first saw it, I saw all the trauma from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I did. I really liked the movie because it's like Nisha said at the end, everyone recognized the bad and good decisions they made, and the movie unfolds the truth behind everyone's gift or everyone's pain. Mm-hmm. And you know how in the end everyone is like, and, together as a family.
Mm-hmm. And what's the sad thing though is like in reality, sometimes there's not happy endings for everyone.
True.
Yes. And a lot of people, they're still learning through their trauma or how to like even get out of that. So it's like a good story, but I feel like a lot of people, it probably made them feel a little bit uncomfortable with certain situations. Mm-hmm. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about each character and how we identify with what they went through, etc. So I'm excited for that.
Agree. I will say that if you're listening to this, all families are dysfunctional. Yeah. All families are dysfunctional. There is not one perfect family in the world. And a lot of people, they always think, well, it's only my family, or I'm the only one going through this, or my parents are the only ones that don't understand, like, or my parents treat me this way, or I don't have parents, but my grandparents raised me and this is how it's been. Like, there's just so many blended families. There's so much family dysfunction. There's not one perfect family, in this world. But I feel like Disney did their due diligence in portraying the taboo behind, Hispanic and Latino families.
I was going to tell you that.
The psychological, like, generational curses and trauma that comes from generational trauma. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's something that it's sad, but that's something that's kind of like norm. Yeah. And unfortunately, Hispanic and Latino families don't talk about ever.
At all.
So for Disney to actually like go dive in and kind of like show that, like, bravo to them. You know what I mean? Because they alerted everyone on the bad stuff. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But also showed, like you said, Nisha, that there aren't any happy endings for a majority of families, but they at least were able to portray that, despite the differences, despite the generational curses or trauma, the family was able to come back together and realize, all of that. So
as far as trauma, what was the main trauma in the movie?
So the main trauma was Abuela. So the main character, let's start with Abuela.
I think we need to start with her for sure.
So she's the matriarch of the family. And the main trauma for Abuela is that
how it all started
was that she was displaced from her home, and she also lost her husband during that journey, of being displaced somewhere else. So she was left with triplets, and she lost her husband. So from there, some sort of magic evolved from that, and that magic was what kept the house and the family together. She
thought it was together.
She thought that's what kept the family together. Anybody else want to add anything in regards to the trauma?
Yes, everything starts always with pain.
That's good. So true.
It's so crazy how this lady lived all her life in pain. And then I think the way that she tried to heal herself is to devote all her entire life to her kids grandkids, and she would think like she's doing good because she has a stable house. She's helping people. And then everyone depends on her. And she wants to be this strong and doesn't show weakness in front of people. But at the end, then I'm guessing at the end, later on, we're going to talk about Bruno and how, but he plays a very good part here that, oh my God, that all she does is pretend and try to survive instead of healing. Like, one of the questions that I thought when I saw the movie was like, why she didn't remarry? She was young with 3 kids, but because she devoted so much to her pain, and maybe she don't want to get hurt again. And now she focused everything on her kids, and that's another mistake too. We love our kids. I'm a mom, so I love my kids. I will give my life for my kid. But we cannot forget who we are as a woman or as a person, and trying to be happy and try to make her life again. And we see here how her sadness, she transferred to her kids and then to her kids. And then they're suffering. You know what I mean? That's what I see on her.
Yeah, she was trying to prevent pain to her grandkids and her kids, but in reality, she was bringing much more pain. You know what I mean? And we see that through each character in the movie. So the next character that I would like to talk about, because I feel like it was like the popular song, we don't talk about Bruno. So I think he's important to talk about because in reality, he was like the one that was hidden. He was hiding himself because he, what was his power again?
He can see the future.
He can see the future. He he can see what happens, and not a lot of people understood that type of power. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think he was a really key factor in the movie for sure.
I believe so.
Talking about like what the research that I did for Bruno, basically he is automatically known as the black sheep of the family.
Exactly.
And what was labeled to him, because he can see the future and because he did these prophecies and told people what the future bestowed, he is technically the truth teller. And because he was the truth teller, you know, they saw him as the black sheep. So black sheep of family, truth teller often get labeled as the black sheep. And if you think about it, like, think of that family member, or like think of someone you know or whatever, who like tells it like it is, and just, you know how family members, they just don't want to hear the truth.
Real.
And they're the ones that kind of like reject that one that's always speaking their mind, or you know, telling the truth, you know,
and telling the truth to the abuela.
To the abuela.
So it's like kind of like attacking authority in the household.
Yes.
So she feels threatened. No. It's gonna go how I want it to be. You stay quiet. You're not gonna affect family, and you're gonna keep hitting. And what he was doing, he was covering the walls of the house. It was getting destroyed from the inside. And this guy, I put that he might be even his late 40s. Didn't get married, have no kids, because someone told him, you have to be quiet, don't tell the truth. And he devoted his life because he loved them, because people think that you have to sacrifice everything to tell or show love. That's not true. That's not real love. That's, I don't know what it is, but that's not love. Because when you love someone, you want that person to be loved and to, you know, and then you see how he's in. And then one part of the movie, he has a little table and he drew his plate right behind the kitchen. So he is so close, but so far. And sometimes family members are so close and so far. They're sitting on our table and they're in pain. And we don't say anything because we don't want to affect the rest of the people or the pueblito, you know, the people outside.
That's so good.
Instead of this grandma taking care of her
children, her son.
Yeah.
She didn't care. Didn't care. So Bruno, also sorry that I'm talking too long in this part, but I think Bruno,
it's good.
Bruno is the top. I think he's the top character in this movie.
Yeah, I agree.
You listen to the song, at the end of the song, the second part when Dolores was singing like the little rap area, that there's a lady that says, he say my fish would die and the next day dead.
Yeah.
And then the one with the belly, he said, my gut will grow. And just like he said, and look at my hair. But if you see, fish die all the time.
Exactly.
He's not saying anything outside this world. And then he said, this guy in his 50 grow a belly. How many men in the 50 have a belly?
Yeah.
But we don't see that this guy doesn't eat right. We don't see that this woman didn't feed correct the fish, and that's why the fish die. And we see that the law of life, we're gonna lose our hair. This priest, I think he was a priest, right?
Yeah.
That he lost his hair.
He lost his hair.
Those things are normal.
Yeah.
So he's trying to say, hey, it doesn't take a wise man to see it. We all can see it, but we want to pretend, and we want to put pinpoints at everyone that's telling the truth instead of looking inside of us and say, let me stop eating that so I don't grow a belly. But then we blame the person who say, hey, buddy, you need to. So
that's good.
all the song is saying things that will happen. And we don't have to have a adivino. What's his name? How do you call him? The people that, a psychic or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Like a psychic.
That sees that. And then it's like, people don't want to take responsibilities.
Yeah.
And then this guy feeling guilty. It just, can you imagine the pain of a person that can see the truth and cannot say because he want to hurt your feeling? Because I want to tell you the truth. It might hurt you. Yeah. But it's going to take time to heal.
Exactly.
You know, the house had to be destroyed completely to get built again without cracks. Just think about how the house represents our heart, I think. It represents how we have to be broken, and that's when God comes in, right? And he restores us. And then when he restores, we're going to have a healthy family. But I think Bruno is just the top guy.
He is the top guy. You said it so well. You know,
so good.
The burden of making our family proud. I think that's one thing that the entire Madrigal family, they had the magical gifts. So each had that gift. And we'll talk about Mirabel later on. But basically, in every Latinx family and every Hispanic family, you want to make your family proud. And I feel like with going to Bruno, I felt like with everything that he was doing and saying, he knew he wasn't making his family proud. So the question was that we had, that Nisha gave me, he was like, was Bruno forced to hide? Or do you think he hid?
He hid.
Because he wasn't making his family proud.
I think he hid.
I think both.
Yeah.
I think he was forced. He was forced to feel like he needed to hide.
Yeah.
He chose to hide, but he was technically kind of forced to that because they didn't want to listen. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think both.
It's true. I can see it like
it's so sad.
It's hard. It's so sad.
He was behind the walls the whole time.
Yeah, and did they know? Did they know?
They knew.
He was behind? No.
I think the grandma
I don't think they knew. The grandma probably, but I don't think
Dolores knew.
She said it at the end.
She goes, I could always hear him.
That's even more sad. That's even more sad that they knew he was behind the walls and they didn't want to talk to him
because they were scared.
Wow.
It's so crazy how
that's something right there.
Someone is telling the truth. Someone is hearing, because Dolores is the cool chismosa, that she hears everything. Right? That she hears everything. And that's what one of the questions in TikTok that say, yo, Dolores, I don't know if you guys saw it, Dolores hear everything and she couldn't tell Bruno was in the house. I saw a thing like that. But at the end of the movie, she said it. She's like, I knew that he never left because I heard it every day at the end of the song. And it's like, So you heard your uncle. Mind you, Antonio never met Bruno.
Yeah.
And never talk about Bruno because he was in his brain saying, we don't talk about Bruno.
Yeah, he was taught not to talk about him.
Exactly.
So you have your uncle suffering and hear him, and you couldn't say that's wrong.
Yeah.
And you couldn't tell your brother Antonio, hey, your uncle is not like that, just because they were scared, just because they were raised one way and brainwashed. That's the word, brainwashed, to think this way and to live this way.
Yeah. You know, something that I wrote down is the song We Don't Talk About Bruno is basically implying sweeping under the rug.
Oh my God, yes.
Like sweeping under the rug. Like, la cosa aquí, you know, what did you say earlier when we were talking about?
Las cosas de la familia se quedan en la familia.
La familia.
Wow. Isn't that insane?
Yeah, and that just goes to show you that communication is key. They didn't even want to talk about it. So, like, would you say, or why do you guys think communication is key in families? Like, why is communication important between families?
Communications is everything. I mean, it's like the same way we need communication with God. God knows what we want and what we need. But God still wants us to pray and ask him for stuff.
Yeah.
So he make us kind of talk to him. He must have a reason, because we'll be like, God, you know my heart, you know what I think and what I need. But I feel communication brings healing. You know, I know Ceci always told me, Nena, but cry, Nena, but talk about it, but Nena, but But I wasn't raised like that. I feel like that's one of the things. And then when I got Mia, that's a whole story, right? But I feel that communication, it doesn't only help with family, but with your spouse, at your workplace, at church, a supermarket, whatever. It's part of our daily life. I think that's just part of who we are as a human. I think it's needed in all the areas of your life.
Yeah, you said it best. I can't even like add to that, because like you need it in your relationship. How you're gonna you and your husband, you know what I mean? But it's just sad how like Hispanic families, there's a lack of communication. There's a stigma there, because like I was always open with my parents. Like my parents were always kind of, it was just the three of us. So it was like, it was kind of open with each other. But I know that there were things that just no one spoke about, no one talked about, you know? That as an adult now I ask, you know what I mean? But like, I knew like growing up, there were just certain things I just didn't ask because.
And I'm pretty sure there are things now that you don't want to ask, but you know they're there. Because I feel the same way. I have a million questions. But I just know maybe that I'm not going to have, I feel maybe they're going to either lie or don't tell me the truth. So sometimes people like, I'm not even going to ask. You know, they're saying like, I don't even want to ask. I don't even want to know. You know? And I feel that's to avoid confrontation, to avoid change or responsibility of our actions.
That's so good.
Because even though the same way the grandma has responsibility, everyone under her has their own duty.
Exactly.
And for me, I just have a question for you too, because you guys are both parents. How have you been able to allow open communication around like your children? Like, what have you done to show like Mia or Victoria that, hey, you can tell me anything? Or like, would you say like that's an important thing in you and your daughter's lives?
I think.
And how have you been able to do that?
So I think just recently, like I was able to, Victoria's 7, by the way. So she's
baby girl.
Yeah. So she's ready. She's ready to hear these things, because the thing is, if I'm not open with her and I don't tell her certain things, the world is going to tell her. And I don't want the world telling her. And I don't want her, you know, seeing or wondering or thinking. So I asked her a question. I asked her, do you have any questions? So
how's that one?
I know.
So let me give you a couple examples. So unfortunately, last month, the end of May, we had that Uvalde, Texas school shooting that was
horrible.
It was just horrendous. It was one of the worst school shootings in the history of school shootings. It involved elementary school kids where 19 children and 2 teachers passed away. That marked my life. The Sandy Hook one, which was earlier, many years ago, that marked my life. But this one was very new and fresh. You know, this one was fresh. So I had to tell her. I had to tell her because I'm like, God forbid, rebuke the devil in the name of Jesus.
Yes.
All evil attack of the enemy over my daughter. But I have to tell her, if she's put in a position like that, I have to tell her what to do. You know?
That's crazy. And you're a teacher.
Yeah.
You're a teacher.
And I'm a teacher because, like, I'm thinking of my kids. You know, we have procedures put into place in the classroom, but it's like my daughter's not in my hands during school time. So it's like I have to trust that the teacher does what she has to do to keep our children safe.
Yeah.
But then I have to give Victoria just some tips so that she can survive.
Like literally survival skills.
Yeah, I literally told her, and this is so sad, but I literally told her, I said, Maki, like, God forbid anything were to go down, just like play dead. I said, I just
so
like
sad.
Play, and then she was like, but what do I do? I was like, Maki,
that actually makes me tear up. God forbid.
Like, I'm like, Maki,
God forbid, man.
Blood or something, grab it, put it, and just play. Get under somebody, or, you know, God forbid, you know. I literally had to say this to my 7-year-old.
That's crazy.
So that
you have a safe baby.
Yes. Yeah. Like insanity. You know what I mean? So these are things that obviously is unfortunately common in our generation. So my mom never had to tell me this, to do that, you know, because that wasn't normal back then.
Yeah.
You know? And then just recently I had to have some conversations because, like, you know, it's June, so it's like Pride Month for the LGBTQ plus community. So she's been, you know, around, you know, seeing stuff in the stores and, you know, seeing stuff. Went to the library and
and just to say, we're not saying hate and we're not teaching hate.
Absolutely not.
FYI.
Thank you for saying that. Because no, I am not.
God loves everyone.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we have to tolerate everything. But that's another topic.
Yeah. And I'm still talking about communication.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm not talking about anything other than that. And I'm not saying, and if anybody wants to reach out to me because I have a couple answers to correct what you think. But what I wanted to say was that she saw a book. We were in the library actually today. And it says Jason's wearing a dress, or Jason's new dress. She saw it. She was like, "Oh, what's that?" And I was like, "Oh."
Oh man.
I was like, let's take a look real quick. You know, so I just showed her real quick, you know. And it was because this is Pride Month. They took out all those books, you know, children's books that had, like, you know, the 2 daddies, the 2 mommies, you know, whatever, just to kind of, like, you know, show that, you know, inclusion and in the months of LGBTQ plus month, right? So I had to have the conversation with her. So that's what I'm saying. These are conversations that right now, unfortunately, I didn't have those conversations growing up. I have to do my part as a mom and tell her
for sure. And other people, like other parents, like that are like super strict with that, they would have like just pushed that aside and not even said anything.
Exactly.
So the fact that you like, you know, took it upon yourself to like actually talk about it, that shows a lot. And that's important in like families, especially with what the world is going into.
Putting on
like
your
it's
face.
just crazy. It's just this world is crazy, to be honest.
It's not about
We're in the
even
end of times.
It's not even about the community, but it's about sexuality. A 7-year-old, why they have to talk about anything about sexuality?
Exactly.
Each family is going to teach your kid that. The community and the school are not in charge of that. They're in charge of math, science, and education. That's their thing. And you know, the sad part is from 7 to 9. 7-year-old to 9-year-old, it's the first time a kid had a first sexual encounter. I'm not saying physically, but I'm saying like a movie, a picture, a video, or anything like that. And I told my husband, I said, at 7, we're going to have the sex talk to my daughter because she's 3 and she knows all the functions of the body, female and male, who's with who, do not touch the functions, and to tell what are the names and when to tell when someone is touching her inappropriate.
Yes.
She's a 3-year-old. Can you know, since she's 1 year old, I've been teaching her. So can you imagine me, 1-year-old telling her, no one should touch this, only mama and papa.
Yeah.
And she's not even outside with different people. And I feel that's where communication comes from. Because the first thing you know is your truth. It's very hard for someone to take that away from you, even though now that Victoria is, you know, bigger, you're going to tell the truth. They're going to tell something, a lie in school, but in her back of her head, she's going like, my mommy told me this. And it's always going to be sadly that battle. But that's communication again.
And it's not only communicating with them, but it's also creating a space where they feel like they can talk to you or they can like, communicate with you. So that's important too, I would say.
Yes. It's hard. Look, I'm going to just tell you right now, like being a parent in this generation right now,
it's crazy.
It's not, it's hard. Like I was talking to my cousin yesterday, and her daughter and my daughter are close in age, and we were just like, what are we gonna do? Like we were talking about our experiences, you know, and how our families really didn't talk about such things, and you know, things were left under the rug in terms of like, you know, sexual assault or you know, molestation and all that stuff. And like, it's like now we can't let that continue. Yeah. As parents, like being a parent right now is hard. It's hard.
It's very hard.
It's extremely hard.
You don't communicate and you don't tell your child and you don't teach them these things at a very early age, the world is going to teach them. And that's what's scary.
You know what happened to my daughter? I have to say she's a very good girl. I cannot complain about her, but she got her time, you know, her days. She was pissed as hell. I don't even know, a couple of days back. And she didn't want to take a shower, right? She was pissed. She was screaming. And then my husband put her in timeout. She's like, you're not going to scream like this here. And the way that we raise her is like, I always explain to her why I'm doing things. When I was little, no, you do this because I say so. Because I'm the dad or I'm the mom. But I always tell her, no, you're in timeout because this and this and this and this. And then when we finish the timeout, I'll be like, you were here. And I asked her, I said, why mommy and papi put you here? And she would tell me. And then this time, she was, you know, screaming, crying, and I sit. And I went down to her level, communication again. And I said, are you angry? She's like, yes. Why are you angry? And she would tell me, you know, things. And she was happy. She made out with, she made the passes with her dad. They took a shower, party, and whatever. And then she called me. She's like, Mama, I'm happy now. Come, let me tell you why I was in timeout. So I had to sit down and she would tell me, Papa, I did this because, and then Daddy did this and this and this. And I know that's a confirmation that she's telling me. So when she grows up, she can be like, Mommy, I feel sad or I feel angry. Because it's not bad to feel angry. It's not bad to feel sad. It's just how we manage that. Again, communication, even with your feelings, is so important. That's my goal always, to recognize your feeling and not minimize your feeling.
That's good.
Continue.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So good. And we kind of saw how open communication with Luisa, she was like the strong one, right? She had so much strength, and they all saw her as a strong one, that she can never not be weak, etc. And then it comes to a point where she's not
strong no more.
She's not strong anymore. And you know, it just goes to show, like, sometimes being the strong one, or like or the expectation of being the strong one, it could be a burden. You know what I mean? It could be a burden. It can lead to and I feel like for her, she was not able to say that she didn't like the pressure, or, like, you know what I mean? Pressure,
how she feels.
Like, you know, how she feels. You know what I mean? Always having to be the strong one.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And sometimes for me, like, I sometimes feel like I always have to be the strong one. Like, I always have to be okay. You know, I always have to show that I'm okay. And then it's like, no, you know, it's okay to not be okay. So I would say I relate to Luisa, and I relate to, is it Isabella, the perfect one?
Yeah.
That she always tries to be Isabella. What about you guys? Who do you guys relate to the most?
Let me add to Luisa's story.
Yes.
I want to add that. I want to add to it too.
Add to it too.
Go ahead.
Luisa is a perfect explanation of, you have to be strong, don't be weak.
Yes.
You know? In Hispanic culture, women are stronger than men, for sure. We can handle.
She said it.
We can take, because we're raised like that, right? But if you see the song and the actual movie, again, spoiler alert, you see how she's carrying everything, and how she says to Mirabel, give it to your sister. Your sister's stronger. Give it to your sister. I can handle it. Like, that's my job. Like, why are you even worried? This is what I was born for. Like, I'm strong. I supposed to, because that was so brainwashed.
It was imprinted in her mind
so bad that in one part she's like flying with the donkeys.
Yeah.
And you see her so free.
Yeah.
And you can see that all she wanted was to be light. Not to have so much burning. And then and you see at the end, even though she's telling her sister, hey, I'm feeling this, it's like a domino effect. And then in one part of the song, she says, like, Hercules will not fight. Like, how can Hercules, the strong guy, will say, I will not fight this? Like, like Hercules supposed to fight because he's a strong man.
Exactly.
So she's putting herself in a place of someone else that is not even her. And she's taking that burden. And then at the end, when she's losing her power, she's like telling her grandma, you know, I was talking about my feelings. And she felt weak.
Yeah.
It's insane how, and then Mirabel, and then how they hug at the end. You see her like a relief.
It was a relief.
And then she said, but don't tell anyone, kind of thing. Go ahead. You were about.
No, it's. I mean, you said it perfectly. She was the strong one, but she was also sentimental as well. She doesn't show any emotion until she starts losing her powers, and she sees her emotions as her weakness, and then even at the end when things started to look up, she was kind of like, I don't know why I'm crying. Like, I'm still crying. Like, there's a part where her and Mirabel and Isabella were like together, they were fixing something at the very end, and she's like, I'm just crying. Like I think she finally like understood that it was okay to be strong and to also have emotions and to be sentimental at the same time. And like, I feel like I don't know if I resonate with Luisa, but I know like I had like my mom, you know, like she's the Luisa of her family. And my aunt too. And not too long ago, my mom showed me a text. And if your mom, if you're listening, hi. But she showed me a text of her little brother, which is my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Oh, I was just watching, Encanto, and every time I hear the song, Luisa's song, I think of you." You know what I mean? And it's like the little brother telling my mom, like, "You're the Luisa of the family,"
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely see Luisa and my mom for sure. Strong one, keeping everything together, and all of that. But yeah, that's
and they also praise the strength, but they don't praise the weakness.
They don't praise the weakness.
That's why she don't want to show emotions, because she was not going to be praised or the approval or the abuela. So she's she don't even want to be strong.
She doesn't want to be strong.
She just, because she was born with this gift,
like she had to be strong.
She had to use it. You don't have to use it. It's so crazy. It's so crazy.
It's so
crazy.
It's honestly so good.
So let's review, because we've already talked about Abuela. We talk about Julieta. Julieta, we just mentioned how she's the nurturer. She can heal people with her food. Pepa, temperamental and dramatic. Family always wanting Pepa to hide her feelings, and the weather. So if she doesn't conceal her emotions, she's gonna cause chaos. Isn't that crazy?
All of them kind of dealt with that. It's kind of crazy.
And then we talked about Bruno, because Julieta, Pepa, and Bruno are the triplets. And then we go to the kids. We started with Luisa, but now let's talk about Isabela, who basically is the
golden child.
Golden child. Yeah. So the golden child. So she had the hair, this elegance. She can make flowers beautiful, has everything going for her. And then at the end, we realized that she didn't want this life. You know what I mean? She didn't want this life. So does anybody else have anything to say about Isabela?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think she had so much pressure on feeling like she had to be perfect. And then I don't know if you remember in the movie, like she created like cactus, like all of a sudden.
Yeah, was it a cactus? To Mirabelle, yeah.
Yeah, and that made her like happy. Like the fact that she can like create something imperfect, because she only thought she could create perfection, like perfect flowers. And when she created that one imperfect, what she considered imperfect, because it was like a cactus, it was something that she's never done before, she was happy. And it just goes to show that like when you don't have that pressure anymore, I feel like you're able to like do things that you'd never imagined that you can do. You know what I mean? Like she never imagined she can create like a cactus, because she never did that before. And I like relate to that, because like when I stopped putting so much pressure on myself, I can do. And when you stop allowing the world put so much pressure on you, because sometimes like the world puts pressure on us, and without like social media and comparison and all that stuff, when we stop and just take that noise out, we can do so much. We can do the impossible if we just allow ourselves to. You know what I mean? Yes. So I definitely related to Isabela for sure. I related to all of them, to be honest. There's like I can see myself in all of them.
My daughter loves Isabela because of her hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the sad part is, I told my husband too, I said, she almost married a man that she did not love. So she was going to sacrifice. Oh my God, just think about it. And her grandma didn't even ask her, do you love this guy? Do you even want to be married? Do you even want to have kids? And she said it, she's like, you don't know what it is to wake up and trying to be perfect. And I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it for the family. And that's when because she let anger came out. That's when the cactus came out. And then Mirabel is like, wait, I thought you had the perfect life.
Exactly.
So Mirabel is finding out little by little, I think all these people are crazy. I'm not the crazy one. And she always thought she was the one crazy because she didn't got no powers.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
So to continue down the road to Mirabel, who's the next one, she was almost heading down the same road as Bruno, because instantly she was an instant burden in her abuela's eyes because she did not have a gift. Because her abuela was feeling some type of way with her, you know, since she didn't have a gift at all. So she was almost on the same road to Bruno, to being the black sheep, you know, in a different way. And I feel like with Mirabel, she compared herself so much to her sister and to her other family members, that she, as they started to kind of like show their
real person,
their imperfections, that's when she was like, whoa, like, you know what I mean? These people aren't as, you know, perfect or together as you know, as they portray themselves to be.
To be honest, I think that's important though. Like, I think it's important to show the flaws to people, like even to family, because then it creates like, okay, I'm not alone. Like, they're going through their issues and she's going through her issues. And I know that like I'm not alone. Because sometimes when nobody says anything and everybody's just showing their good side and nobody's saying nothing, it's like the worst, because you feel like you're the only one like dealing with your own emotions or feeling like unqualified. But no, like I'm glad that it all came to the light, to be honest, because it created like, oh wow, I'm not alone. Like, they crazy too. You know what I mean? So I agree.
I feel that not every Hispanic people, there's always going to be the doctor and the money between the cousins, and there's always one that is gonna and the other, you know, it's like a different role, and we always criticize our own family. This is our part. And then Mirabel, she didn't know her superpower is the ambition of finding the truth.
Yes.
Because everyone else was so focused on showing what they need to do and expose themselves how they supposed to. She's like, no, I'm going to find out the truth about this. And she was willing to confront whoever she needs to confront, or to find out the ugly or the pretty truth. She did not care. And she did it. And I remember she did it. She decided because she heard her abuela cry and did a prayer. She's like, the magic is she knew the magic was going away. It was disappearing.
Yes.
And Mirabel heard that. And she said, I'm going to save the family. But by saving the family, you have to find out the truth. How we save our families is to find out the truth. It doesn't matter how deep we have to go, how dirty our hands have to get, make people speak, and how can destroy the house, you know, not actually, but
figuratively,
and how they have to start from the ground up. That was her gift. Ambition for truth.
Yes.
Superpower for her.
Yeah, and the gift was inside her all along. She didn't need like a label. She didn't need a label.
A door. She didn't need a door.
She didn't need a door. She didn't need, you know, that label. She had the gift already inside of her. She already had the miracle inside of her. So I think that's like the greatest part of the movie, that you know, we look at our families, our dysfunctional families, and you know, we might not understand the trauma, the generational curse, the, you know, all of that. But we have the gift inside of us that Jesus, you know, with Jesus, we can heal, we can heal our families, we can stop that generational trauma, that generational curse from going on to our families, our children, and our future generations. And I think that's what is so important, and something that we can apply to our lives, you know, regardless of the type of families that we have. And I feel like obviously we have like Dolores, who hears everything, Camilo, who's the shapeshifter, and Antonio, who speaks to animals. But I feel like with the older crowd, the older family, I feel like they definitely show these different personalities that we can relate to in one way or another.
Yeah.
So Pamela, what character do you identify yourself with in the movie?
I think it's like Nisha said before. I have to. It's like everything of a little bit, like every character.
A little bit from every character.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I feel sometimes like Luisa. You know, the tough one, the tough girl. You know, I don't know. I feel like I can more relate because I don't think I'm perfect or anything like that, like Isabella. That I don't feel like I always have to prove something.
Yeah.
But Luisa always have to carry the heavy.
Yeah.
And just to I just think
I can see you be the one that randomly cries because you don't cry, but when you like randomly cry, and like how she did that in the movie, it was funny.
Like sometimes, but bye.
Why am I crying?
After Mia for sure. Before, oh my gosh. But I think I relate more to Lisa for sure.
Okay, that's good.
Yes. What about you, Sam?
I don't know. I think.
Can you see a little bit of like just a tinsy wincy?
Like, I can see myself a little bit in Luisa a little bit, and then I feel like more Mirabel.
Yeah.
You know, because she's different and she's trying to heal.
Mirabel too.
She's trying to heal her family and save her family. I feel like I would probably fall within that. Like I'm always trying to family together, trying to heal or trying to find what is it. I don't know. It's hard.
I think that's you.
I can see that for sure.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I see. I guess Mirabel for sure. But
you know who we don't talk about? The dad. The dad of the kids.
Of Dolores, Camilo, and Antonio.
Felix. There's one called Felix. He's the Pepa's husband.
He's Pepa's husband. And then what's
Mirabel's dad.
Mirabel's dad.
I think
he's always in the side. Like he don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's my point. Like that's your family.
Yeah.
And you have to go under abuela.
Yeah.
Why? That's your wife. Those are your kids. They should be run by you.
Exactly.
Not by grandma.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how Felix is like the funny guy, or he trying to play cool.
Yeah.
You know, all the achievement. And then the other one is like trying to Mirabel, you're perfect. It doesn't matter you have a gift. And then almost at the end of the movie, when abuela no, find her because it's her fault. Yeah. And he's like, no, I was protecting my daughter. Almost. And then it's so sad that sometimes we have to wait for kids to be big and realize I have to defend them. And then you put them through all this pressure and all this stuff. But finally he wake up. He was like, no, I was thinking about my daughter instead of the house and the gift.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's another little detail.
That is another detail. It's good. So we've gone through pretty much all the characters of Encanto. We kind of dissected them in a very great way. So I guess our last question would be, as we finalize this episode, how can we as a family and as mothers and a future mom, for Nisha, how can we prevent these generational trauma from passing on to our children and the future generations?
Go ahead, Nish.
Why don't you start, Pamela?
No, go ahead.
No, you start.
I think the first thing we have to do is recognize where we come from. And we have to make our mindset that we are not who people say we are. And we cannot let either our past or hurt or trauma or drama affect us. It will affect us.
Yeah.
We just have to recognize how and when where it's coming from, and try to avoid that, because yes, I'm a mom and I went through stuff and I suffer and it hurt. And I know the after effect that it does. Yeah. And because we love our kids so much, we want the best for them. Mm-hmm. So what I do is when I see myself doing things that I might learn from the home and react certain way, catch yourself. Yeah. And go back and realize. Something that I learned with my daughter and something that I learned for Javier the first time I heard Javier apologize to Mia that he did something wrong. I was like, yeah, you're the dad. You're not supposed to apologize. In my mind, of course. No, because it's true. Like, I didn't see that. So when I saw that and I saw how good he was and he reacted, how good Mia reacted, I started trying it. And now when I do something or I react, I don't know, maybe I raise my voice. Yes. Or I, did something that might hurt her and I know I did wrong, I apologize. It doesn't matter if she's 2 or 3. I apologize. Because when she grows up and she's doing it, and she's doing it now, she's like, ay, mama, perdón. Ay, mami, perdón. I don't even have to tell her to say sorry. She's already saying it. Yeah. Why? Because she's learning it from us. Exactly. Yeah. She's learning from us. I'm going through the same thing with you because, apologizing, they see you differently. They know that parents make mistakes, and I'm tough. I'm a tough lover. Yeah. I have a lot of tough love for my daughter. And I feel like, there's moments where I could be a little hard on her, and obviously, thankfully, with the discernment that God has given me, like I can like, man, I was a little too hard on her. You know what I mean? So I'll say it. And I'm like, Maki, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry, I was too hard on you. And she's like, it's okay, mommy. But then she sees that when I get really upset with her, she'll come along and she'll be like, I'm sorry, mom. She'll apologize to me, Yeah. So to bounce off what you're saying, I think that's a great start, to have that open communication. And as parents, like when you're in the wrong, just apologize and they'll see you differently that way. I feel that, I'm sorry. No. I feel that Hispanic people think that we will lose respect. Mm-hmm. You earn respect. Yeah. Yeah. You earn trust. And it's a mentality that, oh my God, everyone has to switch. Mm-hmm. Just because you're in that position, just because abuela was abuela, I will respect you. Yeah. But I will not let you either talk down to me or tell me what to do in a sense. Of course, if you're a child, obviously, but we know, what I'm trying to say. It's like, it's okay to say sorry and you will not lose control of your kids. You will not lose control over your grandkids. Totally the opposite. Yeah. They will respect you more. Exactly. Because you're human and they can be like, oh my gosh, she makes mistakes. I made mistakes. Exactly. Yeah. What is it? Forgiveness and say, I'm sorry. It's not a sign of weakness. You know how much courage you have to take for you to say, damn, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot of courage. Yeah. And people again see it as a weakness. Let's just learn and make it a habit and say, I'm sorry. And don't do it again. Yeah. Don't keep doing it crazy and keep saying sorry. I agree. You learn, you say sorry, and you improve. That's how people change. Exactly. And we want to change. Yeah, for sure. That's so good. So good. What do you think, Niche? Because I know, I would say, so I'm not a mother yet, but I've learned so much from you girls. Like, honestly, I can say, like, just being around you girls, you guys are wonderful mothers. And I'm going to take what you guys have said in this podcast in my life, you know what I mean? But I would say when I become a mother, I would say making sure that God is the foundation of our home. You know what I mean? Like, besides
open communication, creating a space where they can communicate as well, not just communicating with them, but creating that space, and just love, just constant love, in the home. So just making sure like they know that I love them, so I would say that, and just everything that you guys said, for sure.
So good. So good. Well, that's it, girls.
Yeah,
we did it. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
Now you have to sing. We don't talk about programs.
I know, right? I know, we do.
Oh my God.
Pamela, we wanted to thank you so much for joining us on an episode of Benevolence. It was great having you back. And we'll talk more. We'll talk more about, I love this. I love
having
this.
Pamela on. Yeah, I love
obviously, I love Pamela, having her on. But I like dissecting movies. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we have something going here.
Yeah, we can do that again.
Maybe like next season we can find another movie and kind of like talk about it, because I like it. I like it.
What is it? Disney is coming out with crazy movies.
Yeah.
More realistic and more happy ending.
Yes, happy endings and with like messages that I like a lot.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Anyways, thank you again, Pamela.
Thank you, Pamela.
We love you, girls, so much.
Thank you for your wisdom and for your openness in this podcast.
Oh my God, it was my pleasure.
So as we finalize this episode of Benevolence, we just want to remind you that you will always have a seat at the table. You are loved, you are chosen, and you have a purpose.
Yes, so thank you all for tuning into Benevolence, where kindness matters and all are welcome to the table.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Benevolence Podcast for more fun posts and videos.
Benevolence Podcast is available on Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And stay tuned for next Monday's episode of Benevolence. You don't want to miss it. Bye!